everyone. I wanted to take a moment to talk to you about some important things. And I've got a longtime family friend here named Dylan and some experiences that he's had and what we worked through and how we think it's important for people to understand part of what's going on in the spiritual journey. So Dylan, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. So to start with, I'll go into essentially what childhood was like when you start to experience some of the stuff that many of your followers and yourself included experience at a young age, including seeing things, hearing such, and a lot of empathy. At least for me, it was a lot of empathy is what I felt. So when I went to school and I saw people, I could take their emotions on, and it took a toll at a young age. But why I'm including this is because I want to get to the importance of having a person in your life that you can relate to and talk to. And for me, it was Jenny. And I came to her several times throughout my childhood because I was experiencing different things. And I just want to say out there, like, to people, it's okay to have these experiences. You're going to feel like you're the only one out there and you feel lonely. You want people to know, but you don't know how to do it without sounding crazy. And I mean, we can be straight. It sounds crazy.
It does.
I'll just begin with a story. When I was a kid, I was at an old friend's house, and he had a house that was built in the 1920s. And I had gone inside to get a drink, and I opened the fridge. And when I went to close the fridge, behind that fridge door was a little girl that was decaying. And that was probably the first time I ever saw. And it just filled me with fear, and I was terrified from that point on. I didn't even want to go to my friend's house because I kept seeing more things at his house.
Do you remember how old you were?
That was probably about 9 or 10.
Okay. Just so you all understand, Dylan is now 21. So this is somebody who, I've been privileged to watch grow up and exist. But when we're looking at this, so many of the youth today in their 20s are coming from this background, and many of them are not feeling stable. They're not feeling heard. So if you know people who are of this generation, of this age, it's a good time to reach out to them and let them know that they're not crazy, that, all of this is really real. So continue on, Dylan.
Absolutely. Definitely reach out to people that you can see that they're experiencing and they don't know what to do, because it can be scary and horrifying, and it can also force them to shut out their gifts. Not consciously shut it out. It becomes a thing because out of fear, you're worried and you're scared of it, and so you shut it out.
It's protection.
It's protection, and you can't always shut out everything, and so that can cause.
It causes problems in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you start to shut so much out, you shut yourself out. And that's where we start to get deep dissonance within. And that's when the depression comes in, the anxiety comes in, because we're not actually in alignment with who we are in our totality. Now, I do remember a time that I thought was fascinating. He was seeing a being that looked a lot like, what was it, the movie Grunge? Was it the movie? Is that the one?
It looked like the ghost from the movie The Ring.
The Ring.
She would climb out of the TV.
Right. And, he kept seeing these images. And so I met with him and I saw this being, and I'm like, that's not the image I was getting. And I helped to work with him to change the filter that he was operating from. Because, kids love the horror movies. And so then it creates within them a filter of, if I see something non-ordinary reality, it therefore must be scary, evil, it's out to get me type of filter. So once we removed that filter, we actually realized it was a guide. And we had to connect him to that. And that was such a big, big shocker.
Absolutely.
Because he was terrified. I mean, I would be too. I mean, because I saw what he was seeing. I asked to be shown what he was seeing through his point of view. And it was scary. It was really scary. And, then I'm like, okay, now show me the truth. Show me the truth behind this being. And it wasn't a being who was negative at all. It was one that really, really wanted to connect with him.
It wanted me to wake up.
Yeah.
That was the time when I really started to wake up spiritually and realize that this is not something I can always just shut out. And I think that was a message through fear was like,
Yeah.
you can be scared, but you have to see this. And then this is again the importance of having someone like Jenny. Like we sat down during a session once, and it's essentially the time that when she saw it, and Cora, her name was Cora, and she saw Cora in the light of how she's actually shown and how I saw her. And Jenny guided me through. She said, just ask to be shown differently, to show it as what she was really meant to be to me. And I watched the face change from this large grin with sharp teeth to this terrifying creature to a rather beautiful girl. And it was a guide. And from that time I said, this is something that I cannot no longer push out. I can no longer avoid these interactions with guides and such. From that point on, things just kept on progressing, and I have to say I did start to shut out again, due to just how life goes. You focus on, like I said, I'm 21, so I started going to college, and I started focusing a lot on schooling and meeting expectations, and it pushes out a lot of the focuses, such as becoming your best spiritual self.
And really, it's not, yours was college, but this is what happens to all of us.
Absolutely.
It's like we go a couple steps forward, and then life seems to get in the way. And we have to, if we look at the craziness of our world now, it's all one big giant distraction to keep you from interacting with yourself. And so whether it's college or a job or kids or whatever it is, there's always going to be something that comes in that we can focus our attention on instead of where we really should be.
Yeah, and I think at that point in my life, that continued on for quite a while, to just focus on other things and not really participate in spiritual at all, anything, until we got to this past December. And I had aligned another session with Jenny because at this time I didn't know this at the time, because like how depression works, you don't know that you're in depression or in a rut until you're out of it, and you're like, wow, I feel better now. But I look back at it and I was not feeling great. I wasn't comfortable with who I was. I was feeling
Lost.
I was feeling lost. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know where to turn, and I didn't even really necessarily ask for the session with Jenny. She more of just knew that it was necessary. And we began by she basically cracked me open, and started working on my well of dreams, which led to much more vivid and much more, just the dreams just were, after that, I started to remember all my dreams, and they were messages. I was having reoccurring dreams at the same time, and trying to figure out what those meant. When we broke open the well of dreams, that became clear what the message was in my reoccurring dream of, basically I was having this dream of, I was on a beach, and I swimming into the water. The water was crystal clear, it was beautiful, and I hit the first reef, and there's like this beautiful life system, and I'll go past out to the second reef, and I was admiring the way the ecosystem worked, the way that everything, for some reason I feel it was a strong message for me to learn from this dream, was that the fish, yes, they get eaten by the shark, but the shark and the fish they coexist next to each other, because that's a part of life and a part of nature, and they coexist together, knowing that. But that was another part of it. But then when I went past this second reef, and I dropped down on such as like a continental edge or a shelf, and I dropped down into the dark depths, and I saw someone, and they seemed to be breathing underwater and speaking to me, and I couldn't understand it for the longest time what they were trying to say. I still don't really know exactly what they were trying to say, but I know that the message was, um, I needed something to change, and putting that together changed a lot. But to bring it back to the session that I had in December, can you tell me about some of the stuff, how you kind of made me, we sat down and you made me almost like uncontrollably cry, and I wasn't feeling emotions. I just couldn't feel, I was all of a sudden feeling the relief of, and they were in a form of tears. And I didn't understand that, because I was almost mad at her. I was like, why are you sitting here making me cry? Like, I'm not even doing this. And it was quite an experience.
Well, that was actually working within his front and back heart chakra. He had completely shut them down. And it was his way of dealing with normalcy of life.
Yeah.
Like shutting down the extraordinary abilities to feel other people's stuff, to see things, to hear things. And he had completely shut that down. But in doing that, even though we can look at that and say, okay, that's protection, he had also closed off his heart. So then it was a combination of his heart wasn't open at all, and his well of dreams was completely blocked. And I had known all along that Dylan had psychic abilities from the time that he was probably about 10.
Yeah, around that time.
And so it was interesting to watch this and to see this progression. And he was rather mad at me, because he's like, tears are streaming down his face, and he's kind of going, I didn't ask to cry. I didn't ask to feel all of this. But he had to feel it all in order to get to the next phase.
Yeah.
And we had actually worked multiple sessions in December. We weren't able to do everything all in one shot. It'd be nice if we could, but we couldn't. And so then when we came back, by this point he had come back, he had started dreaming again. He was getting a little bit more information. He was starting to feel things again. And that can be scary.
It can, feeling things again, it can almost ruin some of the things that you are dealing with, because you've been packing everything down and ignoring your feelings and ignoring so much of your true self. And then once you release it, like you forced me to, I was like, geez, I wasn't ready for that. And then it became this thing where I started to express myself more, and that left me extremely vulnerable.
Yeah. And
I knew then that something, it was a rapid shift in my life at that point.
Yeah, it was really rapid.
Yeah, and yeah, it shifted a lot.
Well, and it's interesting because he says, he really wasn't looking for to being cracked open and to feeling again. And that is what I call his human talking, because his soul was the one that was talking to me, kind of going, get in there, get him cleared out, because, the soul was trying. It was constantly trying to get through the haze of density, and it couldn't. So it had, the soul was kind of like saw me and said, perfect opportunity to bust through this. And we did. So then the next time he had started seeing, we called him the lumberjack.
Oh yeah. I started seeing basically not just the lumberjack, but forms of things that I'd seen in the past that were aligned with my fears. So
okay.
A lot of those flash burned images of scary things that I saw as a kid that I can't get out of my brain, no matter I never really tried, but they're never going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like the little girl behind the fridge, or the lumberjack that I saw, or Coral in her scariest form. All these things are flash burned in there. I began seeing them, the same things again. But the interesting thing is, Cora included was a guide. So I was seeing her in her scary form again. I'm like, man, I've backpedaled. I knew that. But then we went and did this other session, and then it changed a lot.
Yeah.
We essentially, there was a room full of basically all of the scariest things I've ever seen when I was a child, including people hanging off the ceiling. It was horribly dark, I was horrified. I was shaking. I was scared. It was something was very wrong about that room, but it seems that things have to appeal to me as being dark for me to pay attention to them. And that's exactly what they were doing. So when I went into this room, and Jenny came with me, I asked her to come with me, and we realized that these people in the room, it started to clear out a little bit, and the people left at the table were guides, were my team.
It was his team. Initially, what it was almost aspects of self. So there was past life things, and the room was very polarized. It was light and dark, which is honestly, it's our experience on Earth and all the lives. So it was like I could see the light aspects, but there were these dark aspects that had, he had experienced in life, however that looked, but it had grown in the subconscious, in the shadow, as these monsters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like really scary things. He also did have some non-human galactic beings as well, but sometimes they look a little freaky. And, and I just was kind of like, this one's fine, like you're okay. So we sat there and we literally worked on integrating his darkness. And the more that we integrated his darkness, and the more it was like, we can integrate this aspect of me that has done something horrible in a past life, and I can choose in every single moment not to redo that. But if it is not integrated, then it's in the subconscious as this scary thing, instead of something that's actually just kind of like, okay, not doing that again, experience that, not doing it again, walking away. It then starts to eat you alive, and it keeps you from connecting to all the aspects of you that are also light.
Absolutely. I think some of those things that I had in past lives, I was having past lives dreams at this point, and they were starting to affect my daily life because I'd wake up and be sweaty and enraged by how I let someone treat me, or how in these past lives, and it was odd, and it was torturous. I would use the word torturous. These dreams were very torturous. I could not go to school and think straight. And I know other people experience that too. Look, that happens. Sometimes you really do need to get help because it can drive you to an edge that you don't want to experience. So, but
I mean, and what he's saying is very true. I think the people who have moved through some of the most difficult phases of spirituality are the ones who have reached out and gotten help in some way, shape, or form, and help from a source that isn't going to look at them and go, you're mentally ill.
Absolutely, that's important.
Because, both my own experience and my abilities and Dylan's abilities, if they were viewed through a clinical psychology view, it could be seen as mental illness. And it's really important to be able to find people who are able to see you for exactly who you are and to help you through it without throwing a label on you. I even have a client who's a psychologist, and she's also a shaman, and I've referred even family members to her because I'm like, she's perfect. She's got, the science-based and that understanding of the counseling, and then she's got the non-ordinary reality world, and she's truly, truly able to assist people from all realms. So I recommend find someone, however it is, whether it's energy sessions, psychic work, whether it's a psychiatrist, it doesn't matter who it is. Find someone, and even, I've got a friend who has a massage therapist who is exceptionally talented and sees and is able to hear things. And during the session, she's able to give clues as to, you're working through a past life thing here, and that's what this knot is. And yet this isn't somebody who, you would ever think, oh, that person can assist me. So when you're in these deep periods of transmutation, because that's what they are, ask to be shown who to reach out to. and allow that person to assist you. Sometimes we think we have to do it alone, and we don't. I don't even think we're meant to.
No.
I mean, I work with someone, I see her every 2 weeks, and we work through my stuff, and it's absolutely phenomenal. We need help. We need help. I mean, and I'm not at the phase where I'm dealing with, past lives or any of that craziness anymore, thank goodness. But now I'm dealing with the body trauma. And so I go to someone every 2 weeks and get myofascia done, and we clear out the cellular memory. So it is really important to reach out. Okay, so want to keep going?
Yeah. So basically, when we sat down at this table with my team, and we sat down and we started integrating the dark and the light, as well as the feminine and the masculine.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was an interesting experience. Literally, almost watching flowers and a bright purplish pink run up my arm. That was pretty incredible. But we did all this, and at this table was just stacks and stacks of books, and they were representing past lives. And there was one book right in front of me that they placed right there, and it had been open to a page, and it was waiting for me to essentially sign it. And it was a soul recontract, and this is because I think that I had been veering off of my purposes, and I think there was new purposes in my life that I needed to meet or accomplish before I can go, and so those must be done. And that soul contract had to be rewritten and presented to me again, or a new one. But we're not really sure. I'm still not entirely sure what it is. But I here's the part what we really wanted to get into is that I said I don't want to sign this right now. And she said, you don't have to. You can take 24 hours and think about what kind of requirements you want on it, what dreams you want it, or what requirements and what was the word you used?
I mean, I really wanted him to be clear on what are his demands.
Yes, yeah.
Because this is a negotiation. And, there was things that were definitely being asked of him. And it was fascinating because he's sitting in front of me and he's flipping through this book. And, he consciously will say to you, I don't know what was in it. But at the time of that, he sat there and he really was like, wow, okay, I can do this. This will change everything. So there was a part of him that was literally reading the book. And I wasn't given any information on what's in it because, frankly, it's none of my business. So, my job was to guide him and say, it's okay for you to agree to what your soul has essentially said. This is not outside of him. This is inside of him. But at the end of the day, you're the one living the human experience, and there's things that you have a right to ask for.
And I didn't tell him my demands on it, and that's part of the thing is that I kept it to myself. I wrote out like a little bit of a list, more mentally than on a piece of paper, but I burnt that piece of paper just because I didn't want people finding it. And I wrote down some stuff on it and demanded some of the stuff in this contract and one of them included was I wanted to not be allergic to fish anymore. I had a fish allergy for 8 years, and I couldn't enjoy it. And eating fish, and I really, really wanted to enjoy that again, because one of my main hobbies is fishing. I love fishing, and so I didn't want to be that guy that goes out there, kills fish, can't even eat them. So I demanded that, and that along with some other things that have actually came true, and I've been eating fish commonly now.
With his EpiPen by his side.
By my side, of course, just to be safe here. But yeah, I've been introducing fish into my diet again. As well as I demanded some things like I wanted to be more athletic and more have a better ability to pick up like physical activities. And so, and I can tell you when I was a kid, I tried to snowboard several times, but this year, around in January, I picked up snowboarding again. Or, I went out with some buddies and they were like, we're going snowboarding. And I was like, I'd like to go too, then I guess. And went down the mountain, and the first run, I didn't fall. And they're like, dude, you've done this before. And I'm like, no, I haven't. But I've been picking up physical activities like that much quicker. My coordination has increased. And I mean, that might be due to the fact that, yeah, I'm older, and that has actually, changed with the testosterone or the puberty, whatever it is, growing up. But I can tell you, I was not a coordinated kid. And so I was almost didn't even know how to use my feet under my own body. I was like, man. So that has changed. Along with the fish allergies, these are the things you can demand. And so, and Jason, you can demand a lot, and some things you can't change. There are some things that you just cannot change in your life through a soul contract, and they'll let you know that too.
Yeah, I mean, so for instance, if you are someone who has, I don't know, it could even be a back issue. It could be that you wrote that into your contract coming into Earth. That may not be able to be changed. It's not entirely not possible, because as we go forward, we can absolutely rewrite things. But there are sometimes the big core lessons, because maybe the back issue is, where you had to learn how to put boundaries up, or you had to learn to ask for help. And so these are big core issues that may not be able to change. But one of the other things we really wanted to hit on was, since his soul recontract, he's been opening up more. And yet, it's not drowning him.
No, it's manageable.
It's completely manageable. And it's because everything that he is doing, and he's still in school, he's still got homework, he's still got friends, he's still got everything that he normally had, but everything that he's doing is in full alignment now with his soul.
Absolutely. I think that I don't exactly know what my soul contract's purpose is, and what my terms that I had to agree to, and what their demands for me to do are. I don't know. But I know that when I signed it, I knew that they aligned with my life desires and where I wanted to go with my life. And I believe it could only better my life, because I've had dreams to do things, and when I opened up my book, I remember I was going through it. I saw diagrams of how to like blueprints of how to build something.
That's right.
And I remember thinking, I don't know what this is, and I don't think I'm meant to right now. But at some point in my future, I'm going to have to figure it out. And that's going to be part of this experience. That's part of this life experience.
But it's not that you have to figure it out. It's that you simply need to allow it to come in.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it's already there.
Yeah.
And you just may not be in a position in your life right now to receive it. But the minute you are, as long as you're open, it's coming in.
Yeah, I agree. Because the past couple months have been just an increase in quality of life.
Yeah.
Since opening up, and allowing some more of the feelings. And I as well detoxed from people in my life, as well as some habits that I had that I didn't want to carry in with me to the new year. And I did for a short period, but then I got rid of a lot of them. And I've still got a lot of work to do. I mean, we all do.
We all do.
All the time.
I don't care who you are.
That's the truth. But right now, the quality of life has significantly increased.
Well, and it's really interesting because, Dylan he's active, and he wants to, spend time on the water and in the mountains, and these things that he constantly wants to do. And so, one of the things he said to me, he said, I wouldn't be happy being an energetic healer or shaman or any of those things. That's not in alignment with who he is. But that's the idea that people often have about opening up to their spirituality. And nothing could be further from the truth. You can be anything. You can be a taxi driver and be in complete alignment with your soul. So it's like, it's funny how we put parameters, definitions, limitations on things, and it's those very things that stop us. Because if he had said, well, if I open up and I align with my soul, I've got to do, energy work and be this type of person, you could see how he would run in the opposite direction. Instead of realizing, like, alignment with your soul and your purpose, whatever your purpose is, because in truth, the purpose could be that he gets to travel the world and go fishing. Why not?
And in some way, I'm healing of not maybe the earth or
who knows?
Something.
But maybe what you're doing is you're shifting perception. Because what if alignment to the soul means you get to live your highest desire as long as you're in your heart space and you're open? And it doesn't mean that there isn't hard work. I mean, like, you're in college and, you're doing the things that you need to do. But it's really, I just want people to check what alignment with their soul actually looks like. Because a lot of people have this belief, maybe it's, oh, well, if I'm completely aligned with my soul, I have to do this big giant mission. What if that's wrong? What if the mission is to live completely from the heart center, to walk around completely open and in tune at all times, no matter what it is that you're doing? What if that is the truest soul purpose? And how many times do we stop ourselves from that because we don't think it's enough? So we were, talking, and we thought, you know what, we're going to share this. Mainly because of the whole fish thing. I just was like, you are so amazing. Because why can't we say, I don't want this allergy anymore? That allergy doesn't align with my life. I don't want this illness anymore. It doesn't align with my life. I don't want to feel full of doubt and self-conscious and not good enough anymore. It doesn't align with my soul. So yeah, I'm willing to do the hard work. I'm willing to do what's asked of me. I'm willing to, as he said, build whatever these diagrams are that were in his head. I'm willing to do these things. I'm willing to go to college to learn how to do these things. But I'm also not willing at the same time to, whether it's to feel clumsy or have a pretty serious allergy to fish. I'm not willing to have these things. And it's okay to demand them.
I agree. I think that what's exciting about this entire thing is that, yeah, the fish allergy is gone, but I think that when I made these soul contracts, I even said it to one of my friends. I said, "This is interesting. I did demand that I no longer am allergic to fish, but that may mean that I'm required to meet some sort of requirement, such as like I need to take a Pepsi before I eat the fish, or such a like. And I don't actually have to right now, but those might be something that I have to work with. As in, I'm trying to say, like, you can remove these things and you can put it in your contract, and they can find ways to meet you.
Yeah.
And if that means that you wake up and you have to take an Allegra, like that's all right.
Yeah.
You've beaten it.
Yeah.
So essentially, with the whole point of sharing this is because really I'm being opened up. I mean, I'm really being opened up lately, and just cracked open and figuring out a lot about myself and finding my own way. And I'm so excited for these next couple of years because I know it's only going to take off more. Once I have some freedom from school, and I have the ability to do the things that I would like to really dive into, but I don't have the financials right now, or but I believe those align the things that I really am excited to do, such as like I want to sail the world. Those align with what my sole purpose is.
Yeah.
And I don't know yet, but I know I'll figure it out, and it's going to be an exciting journey. And they've met on my demands, and I think I can meet theirs. So it's it's exciting. This whole thing about the soul contracts demanding your what the things you want in your life. This is all exciting. So
It is, because we're not at the mercy of spirit in any way, shape, or form. It's a partnership. It's a partnership. And, so many of us are working on embodying all that we are. We talk about it's that full embodiment. That's what he's going through right now. He's embodying all of himself, light, dark, masculine, feminine, and then he wants to walk it through this world. And that can be scary.
Absolutely.
It can make you very vulnerable. It can challenge you that in the insanity of this world to not get lost in fear. It can challenge you to remember who you are at the highest degree and your mastery. And the mastery says you are in more control than what you would ever imagine, as long as you claim it. Any last things you want to share?
I'd like to point out that a lot of these things, the spiritual side of life can really integrate more than what you would normally think into your daily materialistic life. And that's one of the things I'm learning as well, is that something that was really bringing me in to my spiritual side is freediving, is holding my breath and mastering my body to use less oxygen, to slow that heart rate down, to be able to hold your breath for 4 minutes plus, to dive to 80 feet without a tank or anything. That's mastering, and using your body to figure out and do the things that you want your body to do, but you're doing it through. I use a lot of my spiritual side to do that, to master my body. I sometimes think that my mind is very, very strong to be able to just say, no, I'm not going to take this breath. I can last longer. My mind is also very strong in the fact that it can overpower my anxiety. Like my anxiety can just take off, and I'm like something that's all part of it. But there's ways of dealing with the spiritual side of life, the materialist side of life, the things that you love to do, the free diving that I love to do. You incorporate them all together, and you find that you've really mastered an art form, and you're only going to progress, and you're going to love it. So just find the things that you like to do and do them and enjoy every bit of it and incorporate every bit of who you are into it.
Yeah. And that's, to me, that is the most spiritual thing you could possibly do on this earth.
Absolutely.
Because anything else is that spiritual ego. It's a mask. It's a layer we put on, and it's not worth anything because it's not real. But if you embrace all that you are and you love and you live and you have joy, you will find that that's actually spirituality.
Absolutely. In its entirety. I think one of the best things about life is just the journey of trying to be the best that you can possibly be.
Yeah.
It's who you are. It doesn't matter who you're comparing yourself to. The best person you can possibly be is just a life journey and figure out how to be that, because you're never going to get that. People think that they got it down in the 20s. Then they get to the 30s. They're like, I don't have this down. Then they have it to the 40s. They're like, oh, I might have this down now. No, you don't have it down until
I don't even know if you ever
do. Yeah. I mean, you got to go through lives and lives and lives to.
Yeah. And I mean, and in each moment you're learning, different things are thrown at you. But the key is, if you are in your heart and it's open and you're flowing, you can meet any challenge. And you can actually meet even the difficult things with a little bit of excitement of like, okay, I see that mountain and I'm going to climb it now. And no matter how hard it's going to be, I'm going to do it. And that can be a huge shift in people.
Absolutely. I mean, setting your heart's desires and then putting your mind to it and allowing yourself to be entirely who you are doing it, there's no greater feeling than that.
There isn't.
There's no greater feeling.
And it's really interesting because I want you to just pay special attention to what he just said. It's the heart desires, and then you put the mind to it. So the mind doesn't go away. It's never going to go away, but it is the servant. So you put your mind to work planning out and executing the heart's desires. Most of us, unfortunately, it's the mind, and then we go into the heart. So it has to be that reversal, and that's when you get in the flow. And in reality, we have talked before about, he said to me, because I don't want to shut back down. I'm afraid I'm going to shut back down. I don't think he's going to, but I think there could be ways that maybe he drops out of his heart for a time period, because we do that. Absolutely. But you just go back in and you redo it, and you get back in the heart, and you make the mind the servant, and you keep plowing forward, and you examine what made me pop out of my heart. What was that? Because that's a clue to something that needs healing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
But for all of you out there who are working on your own spirituality, maybe you see, maybe you hear, maybe you just know, be open to those kids that are out there, because more and more are coming in awakened, seeing, hearing, and there's a lot of confusion and a lot of fear. So if you can be that guiding light, or just an ear in a sensitive child's life, imagine what they can be.
And you might just save them.
You might just save them.
Yeah. From thinking they're crazy and losing it a little bit.
Yep, absolutely. So thank you, everybody, for listening and taking the time to hear us today.
Thank you very much. Had a great time.
Bye-bye.